Chapter 45, The Echoes of Joyous Gard. Elund had found a kind of peace beside Lancelot and Galahad. They were safe within their castle, the trade routes of the North Sea open to them, yet the fortress protected high up on the hill. Beric, Elund told Lancelot, as she recounted the map that an Aaron had shown her in Camelot's library, that it is just the fields are broken bar marvellous, and Medcourt. Lancelot told her, of the isle north of Joyous Gard that was cut off by the tide twice a day, from where the druids of the north practiced medicine and healing. They nursed Galahad and healed him. We reunited just outside High Cross. Far into Mercia, Elund replied. Near Elaine's lands. Lancelot told her. He, like you, is half Saxon. And half Briton. She told him there were worse origins, and went to Medcourt with them both to see the druids there, new converts to the new Christianity yet retaining their practical knowledge, cold, quiet people who offered Elund herbs to help her to sleep and quiet her mind, and tell of the lands far away. Medcourt has brought down the Picts to the Roman border, they told Lancelot. Urien has already taken the northern Cymric south. Through displaced Druidhandolum and the ragged travellers seeking refuge in the northern wastes, Aeled tracked the shifting tides of Albion. Arthur's death had left a void that Arthur's goodness couldn't quite bridge, but, more dangerously, she heard the rising chorus of the High Priestess. Morgana was no longer a vengeful sister, she was a dark goddess to the forgotten. They see her as a liberator, Lancelot, Aeled said one evening, her silhouette dark against the churning grey of the sea. While Arthur builds his round table with his noble knights and ancient laws, Morgana is gathering the discarded, a broken bar, those with magic, a broken bar, druids, a broken bar, outcasts. The very people I used to lead through the tunnels of the lower town. And she is claiming Brehon law as authority to take the throne. He touched his sister's hand as their thoughts drifted back to Camelot. We must be prepared to go back, Lancelot told Elund. It wasn't something she didn't already know. 88,888,888. The silence of their exile shattered with the arrival of a messenger, caked in the mud of half a dozen kingdoms. The news was a physical blow. Guinevere had been taken. Morgana had used the Dark Tower to imprison the queen. The king is paralyzed, the messenger choked out, his eyes wide with terror. The knights are trapped in the tower's illusions, reliving their greatest failures. He is losing his mind to the grief. Aeled didn't look at the messenger, who had traveled so far to give them this news. She looked at her Sikhs and the sword Lancelot had given to her, trying not to choke on the devotion to Arthur that he had tried to subdue, that had suddenly enveloped her senses. We go, she said to Lancelot, her eyes turning to flint. Not for the crown, and not for the queen. We go because if Arthur breaks now, Albion falls with him. 88,888,888. They reached the shadow of the tower under a moonless sky that tasted of ozone and rotting lilies, the signature of Morgana's sorcery. While the knights of Camelot hammered fruitlessly at the front gates, caught in cycles of psychological torment, Aeled and Lancelot took the alternative route, that of travellers and outcasts from time immemorial. They scaled the sharp, damp stonework of the exterior, enduring cuts to their fingers and tears to their legs and arms. Inside, the tower was a labyrinth of conjured memories. Aeled saw visions of the vault, the sickening slide of Arthur's sword into her ribs, and the gold and white blur of his wedding. It's not real, she snarled, catching Lancelot as he stumbled toward a vision of his own heart. It's just smoke and glamour, Lancelot. Elund looked down, then slammed one of his legs onto the ground, and gripped his hand around his sword. Focus on the stone. Focus on the steel in your hand. They found Gwen in the highest chamber, her eyes vacant, her spirit being methodically drained by the shriek of a mandrake root. But as they moved to lift her, a shadow detached itself from the weeping walls. Morgana stood there, her beauty now sharpened into something regal and terrifying. 88,888,888. Elunida broken bar, Morgana purred, her voice a silken thread in the gloom. Still playing the loyal dog to a man who discarded you like a broken shield? Look at her. She gestured to the queen. This is the cost of his perfect world. He leaves people behind. Aeled. He left me. He left the druids a broken bar. He slaughtered them. She curled into her path like a snake. He attacked you, a broken bar hurt you, a broken bar left you to die in the dirt. Lancelot moved to draw his blade, but Aeled held up a hand, her instincts screaming. She realized that to save Arthur's future, she couldn't just outfight Morgana. She had to deceive the goddess who would, eventually, become the Morrigan in the fading minds of the people to come. The Britons are suffering, Morgana, Aeled told her, her voice steady and devoid of judgment. Arthur's law is blind to the magical. Elune moved her hand to her chest, where the large, deep wound that afflicted her was, aching now from the stress of the climb. I know the weight of his justice better than anyone. Then join me, Morgana challenged, taking a step forward, her eyes glowing with a predatory heat. Together, we can tear down the walls that keep us in the shadows. We can build an Albion where you aren't a Saxon guest, but a sovereign. Aeled looked at Gwen, once Morgana's friend, senseless because of the dark magic, then back at the sorceress. She saw the path ahead, a long, agonizing game of double-crossing that would cost her the last shreds of her soul. If she sided with Morgana now, she could steer the destruction away from Arthur's throat. Lancelot, take the queen, Aeled commanded, her heart hardening into Aeon. Go back to Camelot. Tell Arthur his wife is safe. Aeled, no. Lancelot started, horror dawning on his face. Go. She roared, the sound echoing off the cursed stone. She turned back to Morgana, her face a mask of cold, mercenary calculation. The queen goes free as a gesture of my good faith. If you want the best blade in Albion ... if you want the woman who knows every fracture in Camelot's walls, I'm yours. 88,888,888. As Lancelot carried the unconscious Gwen into the night, Aeled stood alone with the enchantress. She had officially become the traitor Arthur always feared she had been. You made the right choice, Morgana said, placing a cold, slender hand on Aeled's shoulder. Just like the days of old. I haven't made a choice yet, Aeled muttered, her eyes fixed on the distant, flickering lights of Camelot. I'm just doing what I've always done. I'm surviving. But in her mind, she saw Arthur's face when he would eventually hear the news, that the woman who had claimed to be his most loyal sword, had indeed gone over to the dark. She was becoming the villain of his story to ensure he lived to see the end of it, even if it did mean that, in Arthur's eyes, she would never be redeemed.